Awesome. Welcome everyone to today's session. So today we have a group of 15 folks who are part of our R&D team that have been looking at how do you build trust with AI, and they've been looking at different elements of trust. And I must admit that the results or the final conclusion was something that I did not expect at all. But in retrospect, it makes complete sense. But it did not make sense to me, or I didn't think about it when we started this exercise. So with that, I'm going to, start this event. So for those of you that are new to our YouTube channel, if if you're seeing for the first time, you like the content, please do subscribe and click on the notification button, the bell icon, so that you get notified anytime we put out new content. But that said, let's get going. So who wants to go first, guys? I know you guys have already choreographed your game. So who's going to present first?
So it's a teamwork. So every one of us will be presenting at this point of time. So, I mean, we work as a team, 15 members as a team. So yeah, I'll be sharing my screen.
Okay.
So yes, we'll start off. Akash.
Yes, sure. So, hello everyone. My name is Akash Best, and welcome to our presentation on understanding the relationship between AI trust and humans AI trust and AI systems. So, our team will be sharing their findings and research on the topic of creating trust for AI systems. And I am honored to have this opportunity to introduce our team. So, our team has basically spent the last 5 days researching and delving into the topic of creating trust for an AI system. Now, during the presentation, we will be discussing on the following key points, like the reasons why humans may not trust AI systems and how to overcome these challenges, and the appropriate times to trust an AI system and when it's necessary to exercise caution. So, as we move forward, we invite all of you to actively participate in the discussion and engage in this topic. So, we hope by the end of this presentation, you'll have a deeper understanding of the complex relationship between trust, humans, and AI systems. So, moving forward, I would like to I would like to say Shrikar to take forward this slide.
Yeah. So thank you, Akash. So for the next few slides, we'll be talking about humans and trust. Yeah. So on a higher level, like what exactly is trust and why do humans need trust, right? So trust is a habit formed during a long history of human interaction and human systems interaction. So on a higher level, at this point of time, we are talking of trust based on the classification of interaction, right? So we can very quickly go and walk through an example, which is the scenario is patient is searching for a doctor. So let us say the patient has met the doctor in the first image that you're seeing, looking at the screen. The patient unconsciously builds a trust towards this specific doctor because in the patient's memory, the information is already stored that a doctor has a certain characteristics, a white coat and also something around the neck. So humans initially will be able to unconsciously build trust. And let us look at the second example, which is the second image that you're seeing on the right. So in ancient India, we used to have doctors, let's say Ayurveda or some other people who studied medicine. So but we initially would not be building trust on the image on the right. So the reason being, we people who are living in the modern world has never met a person like that. So we unconsciously do not build trust. But there are also two different kinds of trust where we can start building trust with a human being when we start interacting with them. So let us take a context that a patient goes to the doctors on the second side of the like the image on the right side. So at this point, the human may initially not trust the doctor, but after, let's say, the treatment, after the output or the way he interacts with the human trust starts building up. And yeah, so on a higher level, why do humans need trust, right? So to trust is human. So it's a very fundamental nature of a human being. So to survive as an individual, we'll have to learn how to trust wisely, how to learn to trust wisely. And humans are social beings. So which is what trust is largely about. And also, if you see, as it is the fundamental nature of a human being, human evolution has been based on trust. Yeah. As we now spoke about humans and trust, let's also talk about AI and trust.
Okay. So, hi guys, I'm Astha, and me, Apurva, Punish, and Nagasai, we researched on trusting when it comes to AI. So, what's the role of AI in our life, first of all? So, currently, it's on a level on which it assists us and it enhances our way of living on a daily basis. Like we have voice assistants or Google Maps or like AI recommendations on YouTube and Netflix. But there are a few reasons why people don't trust AI nowadays. So the first problem would be overlearning. So overlearning, it happens when a model learns patterns and concepts which were not intended as the learning target. And that can lead to biases being formed. One example would be Amazon. It had to discard using their AI-based recruitment software because it had learned to discriminate against women. And the thing is, it was taught the recruiting patterns based on the resume selection, which humans in HR used to do. And as we have it, like there are very few percentage of women in STEM compared to men. So that might have been where the bias came from. And these kind of biases, it worsens the problems which are already there in society. So the next problem would be common sense.
So, Astha, your audio is not very clear. You may want to move the microphone a little bit close. Yeah.
Am I more audible now?
Yeah, so your audio comes and goes, so it kind of fades in and out.
Oh, okay. So I will keep the microphone closed. Like, is it better?
Yeah, and if you could speak a little bit louder, that'd be great too.
Okay. Second is common sense in AI. So there are like narrow AIs. Example would be a chess playing software. So these software are very good and they have even defeated master players, human players in chess. And it's because these kind of software, they follow a very set rules, and it's designed for a very specific problem. But when it comes to generalized AI, which are made to basically emulate humans. That generalized AI can be difficult and less efficient because the main thing it requires is common sense, and the rules for common sense are not exact and like it's highly interpretive. So here is one example you can see here. This model, this is created by Google DeepMind Technologies, and it was given the command to go in a certain direction. The thing is, it was never taught how humans work. So what it is, it used its own quirky methods to go in that direction, but it did what it was asked. So it can be a problem in that sense about common sense. So the next problem would be a lack of data in AI. I'm sorry for this graphic imagery. Data gaps in AI, it can be very lethal. You will see this car here is Tesla Model S and it belonged to Joshua Brown. He suffered in a car crash. The thing is, the car was in autopilot mode and the car drivers was not paying very much attention while driving. What happened is a white truck, a 18-wheeler white truck, it was very wide and long. That truck came in front of the car horizontally, and the autopilot system, it failed to recognize the white truck as a 3D moving object. And the car passed underneath the truck and the windshield it tore off because of that. And that was the very first incident which was very lethal, but there have been other examples where the autopilot mode could not recognize white road signs, like here in this case also, the white truck, it was on a bright sunny day, and the road signs also, they were not recognized when the day was very bright, and that has led to many other accidents as well. And the other problem would be, next would be lack of awareness why people don't trust it. So naturally, like whenever there is a new technology, people initially don't trust it. And one example would be when Edison created the light bulb. His fellow colleagues, like they were great scientific minds at that time. They also mocked him and they said that his creation is a failure, it's useless. What would be the use? But now we all use electricity on a day-to-day basis. So when there is more awareness, people use the tools more cautiously and in more favor to themselves. So next, Apurva will be taking over.
Thank you, Asta. Now we saw in previous slide that why we can't trust AI or why people usually don't trust AI. Now I will move forward with why trusting AI is important in first place. So as you can see nowadays, if there are so many things in our life that we are using unconsciously, and we are dependent on AI unconsciously. So from choosing a good restaurant to the hotel, or maybe choosing a life partner, we are completely dependent on this AI patterns. So as a tool, AI can take a best and the worst decision of our life. So some might say that we need a more transparency when it comes to the AI. But would you really want to learn those 100 lines of codes, or what is the machine learning language, or what is the deep learning, or would you really like to go those big data sets? No, right? But there are certain factors which you can consider while trusting the AI. So some of them factors are understand user needs, and AI should be unbiased. It should respect the user privacy. It should be explainable, and it should use for a good cause. So why trusted AI is important, and how we can build the trust? Yeah, that is. Okay, so AI maturity, there are certain maturities in the AI as well. So there is automated, augmented, and supported. This is how we have categorized the AI's maturity. It also depends on two more factors, that how much time you have to take a certain decision and how complex is your decision which you want to take. So for example, if you have an AI software in the organization where you have to take the business decision, so rolling out the payroll is quite simple for the AI, and also it has much more time in its hand to make that decision. So it's simple. But chaotic decisions like a stock price or the natural disasters, where you will need the high accuracy AI, which will give you the result in some seconds. Okay, now where AI can be trusted and is it reliable? Now, can you really trust the AI 100%? No, right? Why? Because it's made by human, and human has its own biases, and we made mistakes. So the accuracy of AI is also depend on the quantity and quality and the person who is actually putting up the data. So if there are some biases, then yes, AI can be biased, but thanks to machine learning, it's quite updating itself over a period of time. So hopefully in coming year, we will not face such issues. Now, could you please go to the next slide? Okay, so now where AI is being used for a high level of reliability and trust. So there are certain sectors where AI is being used, and people are actually blindly trusting it, and this also led to the automated bias. So some of the sectors are image and speech recognition. We used Google services, natural language processing. Google Assistant and Amazon's Alexa is one of the example of it. Recommendation systems such like Netflix recommend you as per uh, your previous streams or whatever you have previously seen on the Netflix. It's recommend you according to that. Fraud detection is usually or Mainly, I can give you the example of banks where if someone is using your card and it will give the data to the bank and they will be able to track it. Now, customer relationship management, I have worked as a customer agent before, so I know how critical it is. If someone is giving me a data, like, okay, this is the user's pattern behavior or this is the user's history, it would be easy for me to give the correct guidance to it. Thanks to Google, they have already have Google's contact center AI software, with which we can increase the customer satisfaction, decrease the average call handling time, and improve the operational efficiency. Now, there are three components to this: the virtual agent, which is DigiFlow, and agent assistant, through which we can easily help business to make a better decision and improve the customer experience. Okay, so that's being said, the next slide would be presented by Punish, and he will take you through like why decision making is actually important. Thank you.
So like to get to really know about ki, can we trust AI or can we not? So it's really important to see ki in which areas currently, like it was a really a big part of research, ki in which areas AI is currently in use in decision making. So to go through that, I have divided it into two main categories, that is a high risk areas or a low risk areas, so that we can differentiate ki in which currently the AI is using. So for high risk areas, it's like a healthcare comes at the first. So the for in healthcare, the major sectors, like there are multiple areas where AI is used, but like to give it a broad perspective in broad areas, it's like image recognition, CT scan, and forecast kidney diseases. And in terms of automotive industry, it is used to ensure the safety of the vehicle, the safety of the driver who is driving the car and the passengers, performance in different conditions of the car so that it can adapt according to the weather conditions or the road conditions. It can adapt its mode to ensure the safety, and definitely a driver assistant to give him a prior information like, okay, if he's too close to the any bus or any other vehicle, so it can detect and tell it in a prior कि, okay, your speed is too fast, your speed is too low. Plus it can also detect the emotions by taking a continuous picture of the driver कि, okay, you are not that much active, so it's better to slow down a car. And thirdly, the finance sector, as you can see, like there's a high economic risk, so AI is highly using in creating the credit score, because as you can see in today's world, it is very different. It was the analysts were used to define the credit scores, and it takes them around 2 to 3 months of time to recognize the credit scores of an individual, because they have to manually take the interviews of the person, they have to manually check their portfolios, their past histories. But now with the help of AI, sorry, so now with the help of AI, they can monitor all the online transactions, all the transactions that the person is making on other banking sectors, what is his score, how he's taking loans, how he's repaying it. So with the help of AI system, it is getting really easy for the analyst to analyze all the data and define the credit score of an individual, which is a huge part of banking. Second is like algorithmic trading. So as we are all familiar with, in trading, it's a matter of seconds. Like to invest in what field, to see the charts, to understand the patterns. So doing it manually can take a longer time. So AI is highly using in that areas. And third is definitely the fraud prevention, as I explained, the credit score checking. So similar way AI is using for fraud detection to analyze the trader or to analyze the investor ki, okay, is he using the correct methods to recognize to investing or trading, so that they can prevent any fraud. And the low risk areas are basically, first it comes under manufacturing and industries. As we can see, like AI is highly using in manufacturing industries to keep on check of the optimizing the equipment's performances, so that they constantly collecting the data ki how much heat the equipment is getting, so that they can, if it's going to cramp or is there any errors going to happen, so pre only they can manage to control it. So definitely the quality control of the output, like the products that the final output is creating, so to keep a final quality check, it's matching all the standards, all the checkpoints, AI is being used currently. And third is definitely the product development cycle. So what should be the product development cycle based on the customer journey, customer experience? AI are highly in use. And the second part is the retail and businesses. So into retail and businesses also, the AI systems are using at a great extent. So like for performing product attributes to check, okay, what are the product attributes that are costing much higher, what are the alternatives of them, and how they can utilize them to increase the productivity of their products. In these systems, AI are helping businesses to take decisions. Second is like understanding user behavior. So the buying journey of user behavior is based on different demographics, different conditions, and different factors are involved in that. So to study that all manually with a large amount of data, it's really next to impossible manually. So there AI is used to collect all the data and optimize the data. And also it is used on the basis of all this information. It is also being used to check forecast the future data, how the buying journey, how the decision making journeys are changing in user, and what all alterations need to be there in this industry to make the product more better. Shika, can you move to the next slide, please? So yeah, based on all the data that we have collected on where AI is currently using. So the interesting facts that came out is like majorly in all these industries, they are dependent on the sensors are collecting the data. So on the basis of the data that is being collected, they are taking decisions, and AI is not directly making decisions. Like AI is only being used to optimize the data that is coming out, the used data that is coming out from those sensors, and a human that is sitting upfront here, he is making a decision based on that data. So yeah, this was the main hypothesis that came out after the research on where AI is currently using. Yes. Yeah, now I hand over to Nagasai to explain how risk factors involved in trusting the AI.
Yeah. Thank you, Punish. This is Nagapai, and I am going to explain the risk factors involved in trusting while AI. The misalignment, like we have been divided this topic into 4 areas, like design risks and data risks, alignment risks, and performance risks. So when it comes to design risk, there are misalignment of business strategy, like strategy alignment is a synchronization of so many departments, like operation department, and design department, execution department, and development. Uh, so we need so much of strategy. There is so much of strategy involved in taking critical decisions. So this area needs so much of more focus. And then the boundary conditions and the limitations. We need to consider the boundary conditions and limitations. So uh, like when it comes to Tesla, we need so much of data sets. We need to design so much of data sets to understand the psychology of the human behavior kind of stuff. And the supervision of human agents, like the same example Tesla car, like it was in level 3 autonomous only. To achieve level 5 autonomous, there is human is involved in level 3 autonomy. To achieve level 5 autonomous, we need to bring human out of it. So we didn't achieve it. That is the one design risk. And the data risk, like when it comes to data risk, like low data quality that AI is currently in the situation of very very low data quality, and the data privacy and protection is the major concern when it comes to present scenario. And the training the large set of data requires so much of expertise. So there are so much of data risk involved in this criteria. And performance risks, when it comes to performance risks, operation and technical capabilities. AI is lacking of so many technical capabilities. Like when I asked the AI to manufacture a 24 cylinder engine block, when I need to write a code like N and G codes for a 24 cylinder engine block manufacturing. Maybe it's not performed well in this scenario. Unlike there are some attacks, there are some data breaches, some attacks. Maybe AI can't handle this very effective. And then algorithmic is considered like there are so many data data sets now. So there will be some bugs. There will be some bugs. So we need to get rid of the bugs to get in that scenarios. There are some risk factors involved in the scenarios also. And I hand over to next slide, please.
Hello guys, myself Karima Bansal. Now we will talk about the applications of AI system. We will talk about in terms of content generation. Basically, AI system generates content automatically based on the different context. Now we will see the different AI system like the MidJourney. Here we will talk about the MidJourney. Basically, MidJourney is the system where we give the input in the text form and we take the output in the image form. We will just give the command and just take the example. We give the command that is input, just the ancient temple, and the MidJourney will process the data and take the data from internet and they give the image from internet based on our prompt and give the output. You can see in the at the left side. Now we will talk about the use cases which we have researched about in MidJourney. Basically, the input we are giving the prompt that a beautiful woman stuffing a rooster into her mouth, and the MidJourney gives the output. You can see here then on the left side. He just giving the output that a woman and the rooster. But actually, user want that a woman who is stuffing a chicken into her mouth, but he is giving the woman and the rooster. So here the limitation is that that a MidJourney cannot be able to generate output accurately. I'm just asking other thing and he is giving the other thing. Here it is the limitation. So we can think about can we trust AI in this context? Now we will talk about the ChatGPT. We will move forward to Prasad.
Hi, all. Prasad here. So as we all know, ChatGPT takes text as input and it processes it and produces the text output. So it processes the text input text. It just break down the text input what we have provided into different words and phrases. Then it analyzes the data and analyze the meaning of the data and context of the data, and then it based on the model called language modeling. So it understands the input and generates the response. So we all might try different scenarios and use cases with ChatGPT already. So I wanted to tell you two cases we tried. So one is like there is a farming technique called SPNF in India, which is very famous. So it means like we used to call SPNF means so Subhash Palekar natural farming. So we have a lot of content in the internet from past, I believe from 2015 to 16, it is a very famous technique in India. And I tried in ChatGPT saying what is SPNF in farming means. So when we tried that, it's giving completely a different content, not related to SPNF farming. So that is number one. Like what I asked, it's not giving. That's what my point, number one. So number two, so we also tried giving a logical question to the ChatGPT. So whatever the logical question which we have given is related to relations, like we know, right? Like logical and reasoning questions usually will have related to human relations and all. So that kind of questions we have provided as input for that. So it given the exact output means the correct answer actually. So later when we tried asking, the answer was what you have given is it right or not? I mean, like when we try to confuse the chatbot, when we try to confuse the ChatGPT, so it's saying low content answer, saying based on the data we have provided, and apologies for that, I'm not sure. So kind of answers it started giving. So that is where we can think like the data which it is providing is not so content enough, maybe based on the data sets it have. So that is how like that's my conclusion about ChatGPT. Yeah. Please go to the next.
So as we now understood the relationship between humans and AI, so let's look at when to and when not to trust AI, right? So whenever a human wants to make any decision, it all comes down to this, right? Yes and a no. So now let us see when to trust and when not to trust AI. So whenever the AI is low on confidence and low on risk, it's better not to trust. And if you consider edge cases, it depends on an human who wants to make a decision. And when any AI system is low on confidence and high on risk, it is better not to trust that AI, right? And whenever the AI system, any AI system is high on confidence and low on risk, then we can trust any AI system if this is the case. But it also depends on the context. I mean, how any human makes a decision when this is the case. And the last case is, let us say, whenever any AI system is high on confidence and high on risk, it is better that we can trust because it is high on confidence. Sorry, it is better. Yeah. So at this point, it should actually be can trust, but again, it depends on the context and how any human makes a decision. So this is basically a decision-making grid which allows us to understand and quickly make any decisions.
So can I talk about the decision-making grid a little bit more?
Yes.
So this grid is really important, but there are certain other elements that are not very obvious for those of you that are just looking at it. So when you look at low confidence, there's a couple of decisions that you need to make, right? So one, should I use the AI? And the second one is, how do I present the data that is being presented, okay, or that is being generated? So should I present it as like, I'm a very confident, just do this, or should I take over the system and execute with that AI, or should I just provide it as a recommendation? Okay. Another element, another way that you're thinking about AIs is, how do you incorporate AI feedback? Because if you look at, for example, Netflix or YouTube and things like those, initially they might not have the confidence, but the changes that you see on your screen are very, very slow over a longer period of time, right? So for the average human being, they may never actually realize that the AI is manipulating stuff. You may not like the videos that are being shown to you, but you will probably just search because you've subscribed for it, right? Or in YouTube, you might say, what, yeah, this is there's a lot of information. It's a free service. So I'm just going to change and search for what I'm looking for, okay? So that is also a way that you can actually manage the low confidence kind of scenario. So the question, when you look at low risk, should I show the data? Yes or no? Okay. My argument is yes, because there is no risk. Okay. But however, you show it in a way that the user does not believe that, the user does not get biased against it, right? It is oh, the AI is messing with my experience. You don't want the user to get angry about it. So you want to control the worst case scenario, but still present the data, right? When you have low confidence, high risk, the advice always is do not even show it, right? You don't trust it, but don't even show it. What's the point of showing something in a high risk situation where you know that it's more likely to fail? Okay. Now, when you're thinking about a high confidence, low risk kind of a scenario, the question is, okay, show it, but should it take over or should it just give you a suggestion, right? My thought process on that is, yeah, you can trust it. And, you make the decision. Let the AI make the decision because it's high confidence, right? Unless and until it is going to cause, even if you, let's say, there's a 1% use case where somebody will die, then in those kinds of scenarios, you have to think through it. But again, you have to plan for those scenarios. But I would say, there are ways that you can, and again, when I look at risk is not just life, but risk is money, risk is time, risk is resources. So these are all the different kinds of risks. And again, there may be certain risks that you might be okay with certain risks. So again, if it's low risk, high confidence, why not let the AI take over? Okay. Now, when you have a high risk, high confidence, okay, this is where the thing is, should the AI take over? Or should the AI advise? Okay. Now, this is a perfect use case where, let us say you have, a drone that is flying, okay? And the drone potentially sees a terrorist somewhere on the ground and some AI is tagged that individual as a terrorist. So should the drone fire, and it's very, very confident that it's going to be there, it's a 90% confidence. So should the drone fire the missile or not, right? So again, these are questions that are they're interesting, right? Based on the country's national security policy, based on whether you're winning the war or losing the war, or based on your resources or whatever, you might actually decide, yeah, at the beginning of the war, everything is good. Yeah, the human is always going to make the decision. Let's say you're losing the war or you're in a situation where you can't control it. You just make the decision because I want it to be done fast. I don't want to risk that person escaping, right? So, or you might also say, if there are here is a picture of 1,000 individuals I'm looking for, but if these 5 individuals come, make an automated decision because I just want that kill, right? Again, there are different ways that AI can work, right? And this is something that we have to look at both ethically as well as, from the outcome perspective, as well as from, what is the cost of implementing a solution like that, right? So these are the different things that come in. So when you look at a high confidence, high risk situation, the answer is not very easy. As you can see, the most difficult question to answer is in the high risk, high confidence area, right? All the others are relatively easy. You can give a recommendation. So this is where your circumstances and your situation is going to help you decide what you want to do. All right, cool. So any questions or thoughts on this? Because I know the demo is going to be pretty awesome, but I want to make sure that you guys are kind of clear on this. Okay, cool. Let's go on to the next slide. Go for it, guys.
Yeah. So I think it is time for a live demo. Yes, Karati.
Yeah. So even I hope that this entire thing is not getting overwhelming for you all. So just to get it more in a digestive manner. So let's get this thing into the live thing. We actually actually take you from the ChatGPT to MidJourney, and finally the output and how actually we can leverage things from these AI stuffs, right? So before that, I just now want to go through a poll, and I'll ask a very quick question. Like, say, suppose there's a scenario, right, where you guys are about to create a experience regarding rating experience, where you actually will use ChatGPT and MidJourney and Figma to create the entire thing, start from the strategy, from creating all the questionnaires, wireframing and everything. So how much time will it take for you to get it done? So it's a small poll. Yeah.
So what is the output? What is the final end product? So is the final end product code, or is it wireframes or workflows? What is it?
So for this, we'll be working in the sense of like a little bit of code, but more of a wireframe kind of thing.
Okay. All right. The final is going to be a wireframe visual design, but a little bit of code, but yeah.
And then we'll take it further in the code perspective. So how actually developers can also leverage that. But as we are in the designer community, but we are just asking like how this much time will you people as a designer will take to strategize everything, to create wireframes, and finally setting everything on Figma.
And this includes conceptualizing of the visuals.
Everything, all the strategy, straight from ideation to the end product up till mockups and wireframes.
Got it. Okay, cool.
It might be difficult to calculate, but just a rough thing, like you have already gone through the context, right? What ChatGPT is doing, what MidJourney is doing. So just a rough thing, like how much time will it take? Oh,
awesome.
Nice.
So I think most people by a small percentage are saying a day. And then next is less than an hour. And then the fewest people are saying more than a day.
Yeah. So for those like who are doing it in a day and for a more than a day, will actually just let you go through the entire thing. How can you actually do this within a less than an hour? So basically what we are going to do is we'll start from the experience using ChatGPT, then we'll take you to MidJourney, and then finally we'll take you to the Figma file, right? What we are doing here is we are actually creating a rating experience where people can actually rate it and we'll be creating all the we're asking questions from ChatGPT straight from ideation, from strategy, like what we can do, what we can include, what can be the colors and everything. And finally, once we are ready with the scenario, we are actually now driving to that mid-journey thing, and we'll providing a prompt to create something that we have already discussed on ChatGPT, and we'll have the variations there. And finally, we'll go and see how developers also can leverage this thing. So Aruni, you can start sharing your screen. You're on mute. So this is how we are going to see the flow. This is a basic thing, and we tried our level best that we actually help you show this. So in our team, just for a quick introduction, me, Aruni, Mukesh, Lakshmikant, Simran, and Akash have done this demo thing. So we have tried that we can actually help you understand the concept that that the previous two teams have discussed. And so here we go. Aruni,
So is it for
Mukesh,
hiring or dating?
So it's for hiring.
Okay, got it. Hiring. Cool.
So Mukesh, up to you.
We have a problem statement that we want to create.
Mukesh, your audio is very bad.
Okay, so taking it ahead, we are ready with the problem statement to create a rating widget for the website, which is of a hiring company, and we give this prompt to ChatGPT.
Oh, you're logged out, so you need to log back in.
Just reload it.
Just click on the new chat and try once. So I hope my audio is clear now.
Aruni, copy paste it.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have it.
So we're trying to create a rating experience for a hiring website where a person actually rates the company that is listed on the website. So this was the prompt.
Mukesh, can you try?
Can I get a screen share access, please?
Yeah.
So this is like my grad school. On the day of the demo doesn't work. It works every other time, but on that day it doesn't work.
So actually we are prepared with this. So every team is opening their ChatGPT, so we can quickly just shift if anyone's ChatGPT won't work. So we are prepared for this case.
I like your plan B.
Go ahead, Mukesh.
Mukesh, there's a typo.
So this is interesting, partly because if you go back to one of the problems that was stated about common sense, a lot of times people find it hard to explain what they are thinking. And so in this case, what ChatGPT is doing is actually very painfully kind of pointing out all the stuff that is important. And so what you may not even think about talking about ChatGPT is kind of discussing that as well. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we just have created a rough problem statement using ChatGPT. We did not write a problem statement and conclude any of the.
You're on mute again.
Questions for the above problem statement.
Your audio is bad again, Mukesh.
Mukesh, try joining through your phone and use your phone as a microphone and mute yourself on the video on the laptop.
So Aruni, you can take it from here, like all the HM, how might we questions, right? And you can explain this thing at least.
Yeah, Aruni, you go on explaining, and I'll just type the how might we. The prompt.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll share my screen.
I'm not sure if Aruna is speaking, but I can't hear
Are you
Aruni.
speaking about this thing or not? You just has to explain this thing, right? First.
Okay. So basically what we did was, while we were experimenting around with this, we gave ChatGPT a problem statement where we gave the same kind of a prompt, and for like ideating, we gave it we asked it to give us some how might be questions, and while it generated the answer to our how might be questions, we further went on to get more ideas for colors, and specifying like what colors we want, asking it to generate prompts for colors and everything. And finally from there, when we got the input, we then went ahead and we
actually asked ChatGPT to provide the solutions for also suggestions for also the how might be questions again. So that will be the next prompt actually.
This is basically saving our lot of time, not exactly, but actually we can getting the idea. Okay, this might be a solution. This might be a probable option for this thing. So this is how we can leverage ChatGPT with certain kind of things. So yeah, you can see that the entire flow. We can actually ask questions that we struggle in ideating and doing such stuffs.
So once the ChatGPT gives us the how might we suggestions for the how might we questions, we instead of going through the entire process, let's jump into how actually a designer can leverage.
Your audio went away again, Mukesh.
So like in practice, everything goes well, right?
Yeah, Mukesh, when you're talking, come closer and talk. That will
come closer.
Yeah.
So once we get the suggestions for how might be questions, we will just directly jump into how ChatGPT can leverage a designer's work actually. Let's go and ask about a style guide and actually what kind of other stuff, that visual kind of stuff that ChatGPT can actually suggest us.
And here what's happening is the how might we question that we asked. And finally, the ChatGPT is also providing the answers for that how might we question that we needs to find. Right? We struggle in finding these questions, and the ChatGPT is helping us to even find those answers to us as well, so that we can actually have a direction to work on.
So it gives us a basic understanding that, okay, ChatGPT can actually give us a continuous research support for a person who is actually involved into the research all through his process. And let's go and ask about color codes. What would be suiting for the above scenario? Okay, there is again a kind of mismatch between my understanding about color codes and the AI's color codes. So
you might be writing like provide color codes for the above mentioned case. Like, see, this is also one thing,
you could
right?
just probably say, provide me color recommendations for the above case, right?
Yeah. So this is even like now. So this is, we can like the first team that talked about the communication thing, right? So this is like what we communicating, like ChatGPT is providing the answers to that, what we are actually communicating. It happens with in humans also, right? Sometimes it happens like what we talk, the other person cannot understand. So it's happening with, sometimes it happens with the AI also. So the prompt need to be very clean and very clear. Actually, then it can help us to understand what actually we want to leverage it from. So now ChatGPT is able to directly take like the above mentioned case. So our case is to get the thing rating system for hiring website. So it took that case and it actually started building the suggesting the color codes, and finally now what we are going to do is we'll finally testing it to the MidJourney thing. So we have a basic idea and a basic strategy that we have just in 10 minutes of our conversation. So we have an idea for basic structure that what we can do.
I'm trying to get the prompt that I could use into another AI MidJourney so that I could generate the visual samples of this same that ChatGPT has quoted earlier. So I'm just trying to do that. Help me to create a prompt.
So this is interesting. There's certain questions that are working and there's certain questions that are not working. So I want you guys to remember this because there'll be a very interesting twist in the discussion in the end.
Yes. Like we guys are enjoying a lot, like working with ChatGPT. Like even like we are asking jokes and everything and we are getting so different perspectives. So like you should also try this. Like for people who already tried, it's okay. But if not, like just like you can actually test it in your craziest manner.
So I wanted to create actually a prompt that I could use in MidJourney, but ChatGPT has taken a different turn here. But yeah, we have a kind of prompt that is ready with us actually from the kind of sample test we have done. So handling over to Aruni. Aruni, can you please share your screen and actually share the
I
MidJourney
am
thing?
actually curious because there is a prompt that may work in what was generated in ChatGPT as well. We can do it afterwards. But go ahead, Aruni, you can show.
I've already written the prompt that we are going to test for now.
So we actually wanted to feed something to MidJourney so that we could get a kind of visual sample in the form of.
I hope you guys are able to see my screen.
Yes.
Yeah, so I have already given a prompt to ChatGPT, MidJourney, and it will take some time to generate results.
So just to make you aware about this MidJourney thing, what the other team talked about it is like we are working on a Discord server, right? So here what we are doing it's just to not text to image kind of conversation where we are actually providing prompts that we want to generate, and it is actually giving us some so nice, and like even we have like looked at the limitations also. So this is how it is working. So it has two options, that is upskilling and the variation things. So the team will explain how the prompt will actually work in the sense of that they have given and how we can actually variate it. Aruni, mention it after Colin. Yeah.
So it's
okay.
waiting to generate.
Yeah. Search. Mention. And now write your name.
No. I mean, it is gone. It is just, can you scroll upside?
Scroll upside. Yeah, it is there only. Yeah. Scroll up. Scroll up.
Just before this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one. This is the one.
This is the one.
So let's choose between these options and actually upgrade one which actually appeals for our context. So can we go with option 2 maybe, guys?
Or the third, because the context that we gave has more like the button and the stars and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
The action suits it.
Yeah, some of the
So it's solution 3, right? So that is solution
Correct.
3
Yeah.
or 4.
So basically, we have given the prompt and it has like provided the 4 different kind of things. And from where we have either we can upscale the third one because we like them, and we can actually then could see the variation out of it. I hope you guys are liking this. Like, it is creating amazing content. Even you can try it on like something. It's just not limited to UI stuffs only. As you can see in the server, like what people are actually creating. They are just giving the prompt and actually they are sharing what their ideas and everything, and how actually AI is creating this. Do you having any questions like how this is happening, right? So this is an interesting thing that this MidJourney is doing. Just as bolte na, like just giving the thing what we are thinking and we are getting the thing. So it's just a kind of a wow factor. So let's see, are we getting the wow factor for our prompt or not?
So I guess we can go with this thing. Can we copy it into Figma and just see what we can do with, like, let's take it to the next process.
So what we are doing here is, say, I think you guys got that actually the strategy part that we have done is, we have done it using the ChatGPT, right? The problem statement, the content creation, all the ideation and strategy level thing. We asked all the questions and out to ChatGPT. And finally, ChatGPT helped us to create a prompt that we actually want to visualize, right? So we come to MidJourney, we just provided our prompt on MidJourney. Now what we are going to do is, we'll be sharing this thing on Figma, and we can actually check like how we can actually take it from here to the interaction thing or to the development thing. So Lakshmikant will be sharing his screen, and Lakshmikant and Akash both will actually talk on behalf of a designer and a developer communication thing, that how actually we can inspect thing on this thing, and how ChatGPT can also help us to develop code skills also. So it's up to you.
So now we can see what Aruni, developed using MidJourney here. So what we are going to do is, we are taking a little part of this design and we are going to design. So I think we are going to design a button using Figma here. So I'm just copying, I'm just doing a button here so that so let's assume that it is a submit button for now. So I'm creating a component. So what I'm going to do is, I'm inspecting it and just taking the code here, what we have got.
I think your button is thicker than the other one.
Okay.
Lakshmikant, maybe you could zoom in a little to the button so that we can see the creation.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Can you inspect the font and say what kind of font is being used, or no? It's too.
No, as it is a JPEG, we can't inspect it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So what we are doing is, we are just pasting a text here to create a button.
What we are trying to do here is, like, say, suppose we are not creating that thing, what we got from MidJourney, the inspiration we got from MidJourney, and finally we are creating it here in the Figma thing. Now, what we are actually helping people to understand is, say, suppose we have a CSS option here only, how developer can directly take it from here, the CSS thing. Okay. So now we'll also show that how actually ChatGPT and other AI tools help us to take this code, and now even developers can leverage this thing using the AI thing. So we can actually connect this thing to the AI tool.
So I have got this inspect code. What I'm going to do is I'm using OpenAI sandbox, JavaScript sandbox. So I'm just throwing a prompt like create a button using the following. So I have copied everything and I'm just going to submit. So let's see what this OpenAI Codex JavaScript is providing us. Yeah. So I just copied the thing there and I just pasted here. It the same button which I copied from this. It is just came.
Basically, the button that is created in Figma and also which the Codex JavaScript sandbox actually created are completely the same thing.
Yeah. Now Akash will talk over to the developer side.
Yeah, we can even test through some other cases also, just writing the prompt and generating the code. Akash?
Yeah.
Lakshmi can't be there on the codex thing, right?
Okay.
So that Akash can relate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like guys, as have you seen, ChatGPT is able to generate a code for a button in real time, right? So it helps basically to reduce the workload for developers by at least, let's say, 70% due to its increased intelligence. Now, this kind of technology has the potential to revolutionize the software development industry and make the job of a developer much easier and efficient. Now, with this technology, developers won't be able to, they don't have to rely on platforms like Stack Overflow for assistance for their backend code, or let's say for their front end code, right? So, as ChatGPT will be able to solve that problem that would have taken hours, right? Now, while this technology has its own pros and cons, one of the biggest concerns is that it might steal jobs and services to a certain extent, right, due to automation. So, however, also important to note that the goal of this technology is not to eliminate human intervention, but rather to reduce it and help developer focus on the more important problem solving skills. So that's the main conclusion that we are trying to convey here, from like talking about in a tech domain, right? So like we hope that this demonstration has given you a better understanding of capabilities of AI system and how they can be used to improve our lives in tech as well as in various domains as well. So now I would like Simran to take forward and provide a conclusion. Thank you.
Hey guys.
Next slide.
Hey guys, so are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
So now we've covered about trust in the beginning of the presentation. So here I'm going to sort of expand on trust, and we're just going to leave AI for now and just talk about trust between sentient beings and people around us, right? So when you see trust, there are three basic forms of trust that we as humans experience. The first one is blind trust that is by default, right? Like, for example, I'm on this call, my internet could fail any minute right now and this call could end. Whoever's hosting this meeting could just disappear and this entire thing would go away. But then there is a sense of trust that we have that this probably won't fail. And all these things that we have trust over are things that we don't have control of. But that's just a sense of trust that we have by default because we think in a very positive manner. The second kind of trust is trust that is developed through experience. So two people who have been working together or having a relationship over time, trust happens when experiences and various activities come together, and trust between these two people sort of develop over time. And that's the second sort of trust that we have. And the third trust that we get is trust that happens after we have a result. For example, after this call, there is some sense of knowledge that you have learned based on a demo that we have showed you. So that is trust that has come through results. So now all these three aspects of trust have a very foundational thing that unites it all, which is communication. Now, when you think about communication, and again, I'm not talking about communication with an AI or anything like that. I'm just talking about communication amongst us, right? Shrikar, could you go to the next slide? About communication, yeah. So now, when you think about communication, the way you communicate with somebody really makes a difference in the way they understand something. So, for example, if you take, there was a study that was done in Stanford University by some psychology students, and it was called the listeners and tappers experiment. And that experiment basically had two people on either sides of the table, and one person was tagged as the listener and one person was tagged as the tapper. And the tapper's job was to take a popular song that everybody knows, like, Jingle Bells or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and stuff, and sort of tap the tune on the table and hope that the other person would be able to understand. Now, sadly enough, the people who were tapping, for example, wasn't something that the listener was able to understand. And as a response, the tapper started tapping loudly, thinking that the more volume I given, maybe that would trigger something from the person on the listening end, but that was not the case either. And the problem was with the tapper. Now, if I tap, nobody knows what I'm talking about, but I just
couldn't even hear you.
Okay. Better? Okay. Forget that. Zoom canceled it out. This worked very well on Google Meet when I demoed this earlier, but I guess that's okay. So coming back to what we're talking about. So the tappers and listeners, they had a synchronicity issue, because what the tapper had imagined, the listener wasn't able to get. And as a result, the tapper started tapping loudly, hoping that the listener would get it, but the listener didn't. So the context of communication really makes a difference in communicating what we want in our heads to be translated and understood by the other person. And you can look this up online because you weren't able to hear me tap. So when you think about communication, we communicate with humans around us every day. Every single day, we talk to our children, we talk to our parents, we talk to our bosses, we talk to our subordinates, and the way you talk to somebody is what determines an experience. Is what determines an action to be performed. For example, the way you would communicate or give an instruction to a child is going to be very different from the way you would give an instruction to, let's say, an elderly person. And all of this has to do with the way we communicate, right? So when you think about communicating with a human, there are various things that you'll have to think about: their sensitivity, their intellectual understanding, etc., etc. And we have to optimize things within ourselves to be able to communicate, just like how you'd communicate with everyone else. Now, another form of communication, if you take when we talk to animals. So I had trained two dogs, these guys, and the way I would teach this dog certain actions was very different from the way I would teach the other dog, because both of them had their own ways of understanding. And I, as a person who was giving an instruction, had to optimize the way I was giving my commands. And this is only with dogs. If you take other animals like cats or rats or whoever, the way you communicate with those different beings differs. And there is an output that comes, but it all has to do with the way we communicate, right? So now, the insight that I have gotten from this is communication really plays a vital role in the way you communicate just with sentient beings that are around us. Now, much more with AI, right? Could you go to the next slide, Srikar? So now, I just want to talk about you understand the importance of communication here. So now communication that is translated into an AI, you have to learn how MidJourney understands communication, understands instructions, and optimize your communication in order to get a result that you will like. And the same thing with ChatGPT, because there are limitations, just like how there are limitations within us as humans and as animals, there are limitations that AI has, and it's up to us to be able to optimize the way we communicate in order to deliver results that we'd like. So I have a conclusion slide about AI here. Could you go to the next slide, Srika? So will AI replace designers? Because we just now saw the entire load of creating a UI screen being optimized on Figma and sent over to development. Can AI replace designers? And let's play some dramatic background music to sort of like enhance this a little more. So yeah, will AI replace designers? I don't think so, because AI seems to be reducing laborious work that designers would do. And AI is going to reduce our work and reduce the laborious. I'm so sorry. Can you please move it? Yeah. Anyway, coming back. Start the dramatic music again. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that again. Anyway.
Go on, Simran, again, quickly.
I'm doing it. So AI, I don't think AI is going to replace designers, but it's going to reduce the amount of laborious work that you'll have to do, because a lot of the work that us designers do is laborious, creating screens, creating wireframes, creating this, creating that. And finally, what we do is we take a decision with variation A and variation B or C or D and choose the best one. And AI is doing that work. So now you don't take the job of doing manual laborious work. You start taking the job of an entrepreneur who's thinking. And AI is going to facilitate that, because the amount of energy that is spent in creating stuff is going to be drastically reduced. And the amount of time given to designers to think is going to be a lot. So thank you for your time. And we were the college research team who did this entire thing, and thank you for listening to us, and sorry for all the hiccups that were there. And I will stop my dramatic music right now, and let's get back to reality. Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Simran. So, when I look at this, I think the dramatic music actually undramatized the common finding. So it was counterproductive. But I think the core insight there that you wanted to kind of communicate is, listen, you saw them play out with two different AIs, right? So one was ChatGPT and MidJourney. And what was interesting was, it was interesting what each AI was capable of doing, and what each AI wanted as an input and what it would give out as an output. Okay. And then we had us in the middle. So what was interesting was the team leveraged the strengths and weaknesses of each of the three different actors. Who were the three different actors? It was a human, it was ChatGPT, and it was MidJourney, right? It wasn't Figma. Okay. So what they were doing was they were playing on the strengths and weaknesses of each of the three different actors. The human finds it really hard to explain what they're thinking, right? And to basically verbalize all the details. So what they did was they went to ChatGPT, but ChatGPT finds it really hard to say anything without context. So they ended up asking 3 or 4 questions to build the context. And once the context was built, then they said, okay, now generate a prompt for me. Okay. Now, once this prompt was done, what was interesting was when you look at MidJourney, unless and until you give a really good prompt in the format that it expects, it will not give you anything. And so what they did was they took the prompt from ChatGPT, put it into MidJourney. Okay. Now, finally, what came out was a screen. Okay. Now, this is where, now, what is really important is this is where the human comes back into the play. Okay. Now, the question is a human redundant? Actually, no, right? The human is playing 2 very important roles, or in fact, three very important roles. But now that human comes back in and says, okay, I like this variation, I do not like that variation, you've selected. Right? And this is where your knowledge of design patterns comes in. If you understand design patterns, when you should apply what design pattern, how you should do it, that is really important. Okay. Now, this is where you would look at it, you leverage the science that you know, and you'd say, okay, which design works better? And then you would take that and then you would then inspect it. Okay. Now, when you're inspecting it, now technically the work that was done in the end could be automated, but the question is, okay, there was no automation available at that point, but yeah, you know, they basically manually created that box and got the CSS code and all that stuff, right? But again, once the code was done, you had to implement it and see whether it worked or not. And 100% of the time, it will not work, definitely, right? We'd be lucky if that code works, maybe say 50% of the time. And so what is required then is a human is basically debugging it, okay? So the question that comes is, what was the role of the human in all of this? So there are 2 points that I want you to take away from all of this. One, each AI has a certain expectation of what it wants as an input and has an expectation of what it will give as an output. Okay, it is very important to understand that. So it's like you'll have many friends and you know which friend to trust on for what kind of work, right? That's the same way when you look at your AIs, you are kind of saying, okay, what kind of work is this AI good for? What input does it want? What output does it want? If you understand that, you can now start playing with the AI. Second thing, you should also understand when you should intervene, right? So there was one place where I did not deliberately talk about where you should intervene. Okay. Can you guys catch me and tell me what part I did not tell about? So in the whole process of generating this ChatGPT, MidJourney, all that stuff, there's one place where a human should have intervened that I did not talk about. Can anybody tell me what part that was?
Figma design?
Not really.
The learning
Figma was actually more of the mechanics. Yep, go ahead, Mukesh.
The learning curve that is involved in learning each AI.
Yeah, but that I said, you know, as a human, you are kind of selecting which AI to put, how you're plugging all of those in. You are kind of determining the strengths and weaknesses, and you're putting it's like Lego blocks. You are doing it. I talked about that. But there's one thing that I did not talk about. And that is a recipe for disaster if you did not do that. And by the way, you did not do that. Anybody?
Proper inspection.
No. So here's the team. So guys, if you can turn on your camera, that'd be great. So this was the part where you could have intervened, right? Every tool needs intervention. So if you notice, I talked about intervening in ChatGPT after you get the code. I talked about intervening with, what do you call MidJourney when you got the screens. But I did not talk about intervening with ChatGPT when you asked it to generate the description of the screen.
So we did in like the human intervention was there, but we forgot to like mention it. So
no, but the scary part is the colors, right? If you look at the colors, it actually gave you a recommendation of 6, 7, 8, 9 colors, right?
And we did
as a designer, would you do that? Right? Is that a realistic scenario? Isn't it? So there are, I think, potential. I mean, of course, for you, it seemed like a reasonable screen, but more often than not, if you gave it that freedom, chances are that the description would go out of control and you'd be solving the problem at MidJourney if you did not solve it in ChatGPT. Right? So the point I'm trying to make is at each step of the way, there is you who is supervising, okay, what came out? Does this make sense or not? Okay. Will it, if I implement this, is it logical or not? If are so many colors, do they make sense or not? Okay. Does a star rating system work or not, right? So you have to kind of think through each one of those before you sign off on that. So at every point, the input has to be signed off by you and the output has to be signed off by you. Okay. And unless and until that happens, you are going to basically have a system that runs without control, and it's a probabilistically, it is 10, 20%. Now, a lot of you might be thinking like, okay, why don't I just do that to solve a screen, to give a screen for a job interview, right? I would argue type 1 and bottom type 2 companies will probably get fooled by this. Okay, they will, because they don't know how to evaluate a screen. They will look at the screen, say, okay, it looks good, okay, sign off kar do, right? And you could very well be using ChatGPT for 20 minutes a day and then taking the next, 7 hours and 40 minutes off to do your personal things, right? It is possible, right? But when you come into higher type 2 companies and type 3 companies, they will basically sit down and ask you to reason it out. Tell me, why did you do this? Why did you not do that? What were the trade-offs? What was the thought process? Okay. And if you're not able to think through that and explain that, or if you did not debug it in the process of creating this screen, you get stuck in a situation. Okay. So that is what I would say the final argument that I would say is absolutely, this thing has the potential to reduce your workload significantly. Right. And what they have demonstrated, what the research team has demonstrated is, what they've done in 20 minutes would potentially have taken us maybe 2 or 3 days to kind of get this done. Right. So it was a phenomenal task. With it 20 minutes to 2 or 3 days to 20 minutes is like amazing. Okay. However, maintain exercise caution because you're being paid for your expertise. Okay. Not for just generating screens. So this is where also your job description will change because they will say, I want an expert who can manage all of these AIs to get something meaningful, right? That is the job description. Earlier, it was that you have to deliver the outcome. Now outcome, nobody cares because outcome is very easy. Okay. So that is what I would say. And I would really like to thank the R&D team because you guys, for every slide that you have seen, somebody probably spent 5 or 6 hours worth of research on every slide to make sure that you got the information. And, there was also a lot of effort that was put in terms of the team leads who were coordinating with each other to make sure the presentation was done. I think this is great. So Saurabh, if you can share the screen about what we are going to do next week. So the same R&D team is now going to focus on the next problem. Okay. And the next problem is how do you now personalize information using these AI systems? Okay, so that is the next problem that the R&D team will look at and they will basically present to you guys. But, any thoughts or any questions, open to it. Anybody have any comments, thoughts, questions?
I have one question, Prasad. Nirupama.
Yeah, Nirupama, go ahead.
So ChatGPT, whatever we are asking, it is giving the answers, no? So how might we question one people has asked? So it is giving more completely, it's a kind of information. So who are going to read that much information? That is completely overwhelming.
Yeah, but the point is, would you rather do that or spend 3 days developing the same screen?
Maybe not. But we have to read it, no? That complete information.
Yeah, as a designer, you have to read it. You have to make sure it is not garbage.
Maybe
you are always in control.
Yeah, maybe some kind of audio also available for that one. Maybe that will.
Those are feature extensions. Those are feature extensions. There are tools that will convert text to audio. So that's not a worry issue, right? The question is, if you're a designer, would you rather spend an hour reading text or 3 days playing with pixels?
But here, what I'm thinking is our minds will not be proactive in thinking.
Yeah, and that is a huge risk. That is absolutely a huge risk because what will happen is a majority of designers will shut down their brains.
Yeah, completely.
Right? Because the software is giving it isko le lo, 90% of the time it's working, I'll just feed it. You'll shut down your brain, you'll stop thinking, you will start basically, because we are cognitive misers. That's a scientific principle. Every human being is a cognitive miser, and we will rather not think where it is not required. So if we are habituated to not thinking, we'll stop thinking. Okay.
Yeah,
but that is what is going to differentiate between rockstar designers versus the average people. Okay.
Yeah.
The guys whose jobs will get automated are the guys who stop thinking. The guys who think and start leveraging different ways, start implementing different things are the guys whose jobs are going to be guaranteed in the new economy.
Okay.
Right. So do not fall into that mindset that, okay, somehow, and I hope everybody, because all of our members are thinkers, at least I like to believe that, because you've kind of thought deliberately and you wanted to join and you wanted to kind of think through all of this. So for all of you, I want to say, like, do not think even for a moment that just because AI is doing it, I don't have anything to do, right? Your job is much more harder because you are now trying to find out the difference between somebody says may and should. Right? You have to know the differences. You have to know those nuances so you can tell the AI what is correct or wrong. So your job has become easier as well as harder, because you're fighting against yourself, not against your nature rather than something else. But really good point, Nirupama. So anybody else, guys? Yeah, Kranti is like Wall-E, right? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. If everything is being done for you, what do you want? What do you care? So there's actually a very interesting research study also for mice, where they said, give a colony of mice whatever they want and see what happens. And turns out the colony of mice all died out when they got everything they wanted, because they stopped doing stuff. Right? And this, when they stopped doing stuff, there were other consequences. Good. Anything else, guys? Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. The R&D team, if you can just stay back for 5-10 minutes after this, I'd like to share some of my thoughts and my feedback. But thank you, everybody, for spending time.